This is Madison Candidates Night. I'm going to start by asking you all to stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance. Thank you. Our format tonight is to have the school candidates up first and to kind of focus a little extra hard on the contested races. And so we're starting with the school board race, and to my right are 4 people who are running for the 3-year term for school board, and there are 2 positions open. So 4 people are running for 2 open positions. A single individual is running to my left over here for the 1-year term for school board. Are there any other people looking to run as write-in candidates for school board? This is your big chance. No? Okay. All right. So each of these candidates will have the opportunity to make an opening statement of up to 1 minute, and then we'll take questions from the audience, and I'll give you some guidance as to what kinds of questions are appropriate, how we'll manage those. And then each of these individuals will have a 30-second final statement if they want to use that time. Before I start, I will ask, since I am on the ballot my name is George Epstein, I am the town and school moderator, but I'm on the ballot for school moderator for this year. Is there anyone who'd like to run against me as a write-in? I will be your campaign manager for the school moderator position. I want to make sure no one feels like I have an unfair advantage by standing up here. Actually, the more I talk, the more I lose votes. So let's dive right into it. I'm going to start, again, to my right over here, 4 individuals running for the 3-year term for school board. There are only 2 slots for these 4 individuals, and we'll start here. And I'll start with Deb Parsons. If you would introduce yourself and take up to 1 minute to talk about yourself. Yes, and please use the microphone.
Good evening. Thank you for coming. Can you hear me? On it. I can really be louder without it.
Yes, you can. But no, we want to pick it up on the recording.
Okay. My name is Deb Parsons. I was just going to give you a little bit of about me, like who I am. I'm a native to the Mount Washington Valley, born right at Memorial Hospital. I have 2 adult children, and I've been married to my husband for 23 years. Been living in Madison for about that same amount of time. I am an elementary school teacher by trade. I have almost 30 years of experience teaching, so that means I'm versed in good teaching practices, what makes a healthy culture and school environment, and the need for confidentiality. I have a propensity for numbers and math. I have a bachelor's degree in mathematics education, so that will serve me well in the budget process. I've also had to budget for a classroom for almost 30 years, so I'm familiar with that process. I've been a lead negotiator in collective bargaining agreements, so I am versed in that process as well. I have extensive leadership experience, both in athletics and in my profession. I've led teams, I've coached, I've been a mentor teacher.
And you've used up a whole minute.
Oh, thanks. Well, I have more to tell you, but maybe it'll come later.
All right. Next, please.
Good evening. My name is Sophia Edwards. I am a Madison, not native, but just next door. We've lived, my husband and I, here for almost 10 years now. I am a mom to 2 incredible children. I have a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old at home who love to give me a run for my money, but also really hit home the importance of education in this valley. I am married to a local small business owner, so we really have deep roots here in the town. We could have lived anywhere in the valley, and this is where we patiently waited to find the right spot to set down. I am currently a still trying to get those straight. And I am running because I believe that my background in educational leadership and working in schools throughout the Valley really are an asset to this board and can bring a new perspective. I have the ability to look through budgeting with an educational lens. It's something that I've had experience doing through the teacher aspect and also through some leadership experiences. And most of all, I'm a good listener. My job is to be a voice for the students, the staff, and the residents of this town.
Thank you. Thank you. Boy, a minute goes by fast, doesn't it? Please.
Hello, everyone. Sarah DiMartino. I'm currently on the board. I've been on the board since 2021. I don't have an extensive background like these girls, but I'm a bartender, so it's, you know. Anyways, I really love this school and I love this community, and I'm really thankful to be on the board. I've learned a lot, and I still am learning, and I really am looking forward to being on the board again. So thank you. Hopefully you'll have me.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Jim Curran. I moved to the town of Madison in 2001 with my wife Lisa and my two children, Jimmy and Aaron. In 2007, I was elected to the Madison School Board. A bit nervous, nevertheless a challenge I was willing to undertake. As the years continued, my agenda has been to do everything in my power to provide the best quality education for the students of the town of Madison while doing it at an affordable cost. Some of my accomplishments over the last 18 years are I've assisted with a $1.3 million building refurbishment project, creating a CIP that's been robust for the school district, the HVAC project for the auditorium here that we sit in today, 3 principal searches, 3 superintendent searches, navigating through COVID, building relationships with the Madison Advisory Budget Committee, proposing biannual school board and selectmen meetings, finding errors in the high school and middle school billing while signing the numerous amount of honor roll letters that they have, and enjoying skiing with the students here at the Madison Elementary School for the better part of 20 years.
Thank you very much. And so a reminder, I'm Deb Parsons, closest to me, Sophia Edwards, Sarah DiMartino, and Jim Curran are the 4 people to this side. Ms. Stackpole is running for the 1-year seat and is at the moment unopposed. So if you could give us a little background.
Hello, Sherry Stackpole. I live here with my husband, Chad Stackpole, and our 2 boys that both attended Madison Elementary. One is going to be leaving at the end of this year to go over to the middle school. I work for an IT solutions company. I have for the past 15 years. Some of the contracts that we've negotiated actually have been directly with school districts and local government, so I have a pretty good understanding of the way their process works with budgeting, but I also am newer to the school board. I was appointed, so there's a lot to learn. It's been a fast and furious almost year now, and I've enjoyed being a voice for students, parents, and the community.
Thank you. Thank you. We now have some time for questions, and if you would go to the center microphone if you have any questions. A couple of rules. One is that each question, each of the candidates will have the opportunity to answer each question. You can't just point at one individual and go at that person. You have to present a general question that each of the individuals can respond to, number 1. Number 2, just ask your question. Don't make a speech. You're not running for office. We want to hear from them. So please don't tell us why you favor this or you favor that. Simply ask what their opinion is on whatever the topic is. And we'll all get home before it hits 0 tonight. So please, up to the microphone, and we can take a minute there. Oh, I knew someone would.
Yes, my question would be...
And your name is?
Oh, my name is Tino Fernandez, and I'd like to ask a question of the candidates about what do you think of the importance or non-importance of state achievement tests, and how would you view the less than mediocre achievements that we seem to be getting in our school system?
Well, let's mix up the order here and start with Mr. Curran.
So I've been pretty vocal in the past about saying that the state achievement scores are very difficult. A lot of kids don't test well, and the opt-out option that parents have has been utilized extremely heavy here over the past. I believe it is a good way to benchmark where the students are at, and we've been doing a lot more in the last year and a half to get results and show the results for the town.
Thank you. Yes.
I understand the state testing, and I'm not a huge fan of the state testing because it's just a quick snapshot of these children. You know, maybe they didn't have breakfast that morning, maybe their parents yelled at them, or they're having a bad day. It just doesn't seem fair to judge the student on that state testing. Oh, sorry.
This, to me, is not as simple of a question as it might seem. The heart and motherly, for lack of a better word, understands all those different facets and how one factor can greatly impact a kid's score on a single day or a couple day time period. However, whether we like it or not, is a factor in how schools are judged and how different assets are allocated. So it is important that we do understand what's at stake and that we take all possible steps to put our best foot forward. That is the way that a lot of people look at student performance, unfortunately.
I'm just gonna be loud. It doesn't seem, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So being a teacher, I can tell having to administer the state test is awful. It's stressful, but you do everything you can to prepare your students, make sure they have breakfast, make sure that they have confidence, that you build them up before they take it. So it is that one snapshot in time, but as an educator, I know there are lots of other ways we collect information, and if you're not collecting information, you don't know how to improve, and you don't know how you're doing. So it's a way to kind of assess how you are doing as a teacher, I feel, and also how the curriculum you're using is working. It's not the end all be all. It's again one piece, but I think without that piece that is consistent throughout the state, it would be really hard to measure how each individual school is doing, and I think the information does need to be used in an educated way, so that we're always moving to be better. And that's how I would come at it from that standpoint. Is I do think it's important to review it and to make decisions, but that shouldn't be the only thing that your decisions are based on.
Thank you. Ms. Stackpole?
So kind of
Probably want to get closer maybe to the microphone, sorry.
kind of echoing what they had said. I think the state testing is important, but the way it's administered really makes it difficult to go by. You know, I'm always encouraging my kids, you're having testing, like you gotta do your best, put your best foot forward, but I think it's such a small snapshot of what students are truly learning while they're here. I think that we need a better system in place, and that starts at the state level.
Thank you. Additional questions or follow-ups? Just please go right up to that microphone and you can stand in line if you wish. Yes.
Joy Gray. I was wondering if each of you could share with us one thing that you would look into really digging into and getting your hands dirty and doing, and also something that intimidates the bejesus out of you about being on the school board.
Ms. Stackpole, unfortunately, you have to go first. Oh my goodness, she's.
Are you talking about like gardening? No, one thing that comes to mind is we send our kids to the Conway, the middle school and the high school, and for the money that we spend, I don't feel like we've ever really had a seat at the table, and I think it's important to start being a little bit louder and bridge that gap between the elementary school and the middle school and the high school. So I would just like to put more of a focus on that. And then what scares me about being on the school board is, like, I guess you guys. I don't know. No, I'm kidding. I don't know that anything actually does. I love the challenge, and I love, you know, the people in this community, and I don't, there's never been a time I haven't wanted to show up, so.
Thank you. Ms. Parson?
I think that mainly I want to know more about how things are running here. I've been gone for 6 years from being an employee here, so I'd like to get a better handle on the new configurations and how we're teaching students that are in a class but range from ages K to 2, 3 to 4, and 5 to 6, and really delve into the efficacy and how it's working and the outcomes that we're getting using that model. In terms of things that I'm intimidated, I'm not easily intimidated, so you can't even intimidate
I was
me.
going to say something.
But I would say probably the laws that govern, I'm not as versed in those, so I would have to kind of educate myself to the actual wording and things of laws. So that probably would be the most intimidating for me.
Thank you. Edward?
All right, so they're gonna dig into those things. I'll dig into something that hasn't been said yet. I really wanna dig into the community involvement piece and getting our families and our residents more involved on a regular basis with the school board. If we're gonna be their voice, then we need to know what their concerns are and what they really want for outcomes. As far as being scared, or what intimidates me, I will say something. The fear of the unknown is always a little intimidating. I've never been on a school board before, but also the idea of fully committing. Like, if I'm the type of person that if I'm going to say I'm going to do something, I'm gonna dig in and really do it. So the fear of and the excitement of learning, it can be intimidating.
Thank you. Ms. DiMartino?
Yes, I'm gonna agree with Sherry about the SA, U13 and 9. 'Cause I'm on the joint board, and I just think it's important for us to figure out, you know, if that's the direction that we're going in, to send our kids up there, or look for a different direction to sending our students. So what scares me, I guess, I'm not sure. I guess nothing that scares me.
Karen?
Brave.
So one item that I have not been able to address since I've been on the board is the contract with Conway for the middle and high school. So over the past 7 years, just a small snapshot, the budget for what we send to Conway for money has gone down by $6,000, which is a 0.23% decrease, and our enrollment up in Conway has gone down by 45 students, a 31% decrease. We're in a 20-year contract right now. I've been in the beginning stages of the negotiations with Conway. So in the next 3 years, that is what I really want to dive into is creating a fair, equitable, and educationally sound contract for our middle and high school students. And I will say what scares me the most is potentially having to put the option out to the town of Madison of not going to Conway and potentially going to another district as our district of record because it's a better sound decision.
Thank you. Other questions? Yes, sir.
Paul McKenna. I'd like to know your opinion on vocational education And if you believe in it, what you would do to move in that direction.
Thank you. Let's just go back and forth. Mr. Curran, go right ahead.
I believe that every student learns differently, and I think that the vocational education is extremely important to our students because not every student is college-bound student or workforce ready. But I think having that, giving them the option to have those services available, you know, the electricians of the world, the plumbers of the world, they for years they got a bad rap. You had to go to college, and so I think having the technical education side of the world available to these students is well worth it. And I sat on the committee years ago at the high school level, and I know it's kind of died off a little bit, but I'd like to see that as part of our contract to get better.
Thank you.
I agree with Jim. I would love to have, you know, options for our students to be able to access for that, so.
As the wife of a landscaper and the sister of a plumber, I fully support the VOTEC education. As far as how I would dig into really amplifying that, I'm not sure off the cusp if I could speak to that, but it would definitely be a cause that I would be fully behind.
I'm a daughter of, my father was a 30-year teacher in the vocational department at Kennett, so I'm very familiar with the vocational department. That it's greatly improved over time. There's so much more offered. My son was able to take advantage of some of the flying things. My husband is a mechanic and was convinced our children should get a trade, learn how to do a trade before going to college, but I went out on that little piece. But I think in terms of expanding, I would think of ways of trying to bring things down to the elementary school level. And in years past in Madison, we had a school to career kind of program where you would bring in local businesses and they would do little lessons with students so they just got an idea of what kind of professions are out there, and especially in our own community. So I think that would be a good place to kind of bring things down and introduce the younger kids to some of those things.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm 100% on board with it. I would love to see it implemented, like in the elementary school. Where I went to school in Manchester, so we had more of that stuff available to us, even so much so where we earned college credits at a younger age. But even having, you know, if we could get the buy-in from the community, having like a small wood shop type area in the school, like our 5th and 6th graders are old enough to be measuring and cutting wood and building a shed, you know, or birdhouses, whatever it may be, right? I think that's so important, and I'd love to see more of that here.
Thank you. Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Jen Bent. I'm twofold here. I'm an employee of Madison Elementary School, and I am a town taxpayer. So I kind of have two vested interests. We have an amazing school culture here. We have great leadership. But my question is, what positive initiatives, events, what have you, my brain is kind of dead right now, are you looking forward to embracing as potential members, current members, if that makes sense?
Thank you. Steckel.
Well, this week is Read Across America, and Smokey the Bear is going to be here on Wednesday, so I'm looking forward to that.
Who's going to be here? Oh, Smokey the Bear.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a secret. I'm sorry. It's probably my fault. I thought he got laid off.
I really think that Heather and the entire staff do a great job. You know, Wednesday's trivia night. There's always incredible things going on at the school. So it's hard to insert anything in addition to, in the moment. But yeah, I think it's a fun community, and I'm can't really say much more than that, I guess.
Thank you.
I really see my role as a school board member in terms of a support system. So I would do my best to support the initiatives that are brought forward by attending and doing what I can to promote the things that the school and the administration want to bring forward. I think something that I would like to build is the relationship between the school and the rec. It was a very big presence because it was part of the school at one point when I was here, and now it's kind of separate again. So I would want to try to build that program up and have a big partnership here with the school as well.
Thank you.
I agree with Deb in really supporting those folks that are in the building and are talking with the students and interacting with them on a daily basis, and what their passions are and what they want to see for events. However, it can be hard working at a different school to get here for some of those during the day things. I really value the opportunity to be involved in the evenings. So to come to the performances, one that particularly sticks out to me was they did a contra dance here last year, and it was amazing. We were a little skeptical at first of what to expect, but everyone had an amazing time, and my thighs the next day were on fire. So being able to enjoy both the academic and the non-academic events is really powerful.
I spend a lot of time in the school. I love the school, and I'm trying to volunteer as much as I can here. So any of the programs I'm supportive of, and I'll be at every one because I love it. You know, I come in during the day and just to observe and hang out. The teacher's probably sick of looking at me, but I love it that much. I love being involved, and I have two children here, so it's really important to me.
It's pretty hard to pass up on all of it. Everything's right. We have a lot of great events here at the school. One event that I would love to see come back, that's been gone for many years, which was our Tri-Town event, which was done usually during Read Across America Week. We used grant funding for it, but it brought all three towns, Madison, Tamworth, and Freedom, together. They usually would bring somebody in to the classrooms with the kids to do things, and then at the end of the week or sometime midweek, they'd bring all three towns together for one event to bring them all together with. The ski program the ESSC program is a great program. I'd love to see more volunteers. You know, the plays that are put on, I mean, they've been doing 1 to 2 plays a year now. So it's all that stuff that is great, along with the community luncheons that they do during, for Veterans Day and other things like that.
Thank you. Maybe one more question?
Mike Vayu, I was wondering how people think with property taxes, et cetera, what your thoughts are on the voucher system in the state of New Hampshire and its effect on us educationally.
Mr. Curran?
I think the voucher system, based on the way things work right now, if they allow the vouchers out even further, it's gonna hurt the local tax base more and more every time they do it, as well as the amount of state funding that is being pulled back year after year, that is costing the local taxpayer, more money on their budget.
Thank you.
Right. Any vouchers that are given are taken away from our school, so that's the way it is. And it's unfortunate.
I don't understand how, especially if there's an expansion, how it is going to work out. I just don't see the numbers adding up. And I mean, obviously this is what I do. I value the funding going where it is and being put to the kids that are in this community attending these schools.
I am not a fan. I think that until you hold all educational systems to the same standards, they should not be receiving the vouchers. We have to state tests, so they should have to state tests, and there's no accountability. So in terms of taking money away from the public schools where there are those things that are holding districts accountable, I think that's where the money should stay.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not for any of the school vouchers. I think it puts us at risk when it comes time to budgeting, and it's not something that I'm in agreement with.
One quick question, Jim Curran, as part of the negotiation with Conway, do you want to press them for a cooperative school district so that we can influence the schools we send our kids to?
I will just ask a point of clarification. I thought there weren't any pointed questions. No, just kidding.
Oh, that was completely open-minded.
Oh, okay. No. So, cooperative has been discussed with Conway. I believe if we were to look and go that route, it would have to then go on the ballot again, and then a committee to be formed to go cooperative. I think you had to appoint at one point to go that route. I don't think Conway is willing to go cooperative. It was discussed in the last time around.
I'm just asking about your positions.
I'm not opposed to doing a cooperative with Conway. I think it would be a good thing. We'd all have the say that we all want up there. It's just a matter of them being able to give up their building, their property.
I sat in this same meeting with Jim, so I know that they weren't really willing to do that with us. So, I mean, I would consider it for sure, but I just know what their stand is.
Rose-colored glasses, it would be great. I would be very curious to see what it would take to negotiate that.
I think if there's a possibility, and that gives us more of a voice and more control over what we spend, it would be great. But again, there's two sides, so you've got to both be willing, and I just know the last time we looked into something like this, it fell apart in terms of trying to go our own way. So kind of whatever avenue you pick, I think it's an uphill climb, but certainly I would be open to listening to the taxpayers and the voters of Madison to see what their preferred way of going in terms of the higher grades in education, and kind of work from there.
Thank you.
To be honest, I don't know enough about whether it would be good to go in that direction or not. I have to be honest, I would have to do some more research.
Thank you. Well, 30 seconds of wrap up if any of you want to take advantage of that. Ms. Stackpole.
No, I just want to say thank you for coming out and listening to me. I appreciate it. I appreciate all you guys. Oh, and vote for me.
Again, thank you to coming out. I have some brochures in the back if you want to find out a little bit more about what I believe in. I also am holding an event tomorrow at the Madison Library in the bottom floor, the Chick Room, from 5 to 7. If you have more pointed questions that you want to ask me personally, you can do that there. So thank you.
Echoing the thank you, especially for coming out on a Monday night. And I also have a couple flyers over there. And most importantly, please don't hesitate to reach out. Like I've tried to reiterate, my goal is to be a voice for this community, and I can't be that voice if I don't know where you stand or what you value most. So I'd love to have those conversations with you.
Thanks for coming. Is this on?
Okay.
Thank you for coming, and I also have a flyer. Just, I think I am who I am, and it's really important to me, so I'd love to have your vote.
I will echo the thank you for coming out tonight. One of the things that I'd like to say is that looking at the amount of people in the room here tonight, it'd be great to see this at every school board meeting moving forward, and every town and deliberative sessions that we have, because the more voices that we get to hear from as we do what we do makes our job easier and challenging at the same time, but it helps us to really make better decisions. So again, thank you for coming out tonight, and hopefully you'll continue to support me.
Thank you. And it's wonderful to see the number of people interested in serving on our school board. I'd ask you to join me in giving them a round of applause. And you can go, but you have to stay for the whole meeting. That's part of the deal. Just quickly, we have no one on the ballot for school clerk. Is there anyone who would like to announce their write-in campaign? I will thank Sloan Jarrell for doing a wonderful, wonderful job. I don't see her right this second, but at our last school meeting and served us well in terms of producing minutes and so on. And the school treasurer, is there anyone interested in announcing their candidacy for school treasurer? Seeing none, and that's it. So those are the school positions, and we're ready to move on to the town. And I'm going to ask the people running for the Board of Selectmen to come on up here, and I'll divide you up into two groups depending upon the duration of your run. Why don't we have the one-year candidates on this side to my right, and the 3-year candidates to my left. So as well as any write-in candidates who are interested in serving. Any write-in candidates should come up and join us as well. So we have 3 individuals here, and not a 4th running for the 1-year term. I have Haig, Nicole, and Rick, and we don't have Mike Morrow here, who is on the ballot. So there are 4 candidates for 1 position. So these folks are running for 1 position, the people on this side. And the folks on this side, the much more thoughtful group here, they are running for the 3-year term. Maybe they're not so thoughtful, but the 3-year term, and there are 2 positions open there. So there are 2 candidates here. Again, anyone who is looking for a write-in campaign for Board of Selectmen, please come on up. Seeing none, we'll get started the same way we did with the school board members, and I'll start with Mr. Judkins. If you would take a minute to introduce yourself.
Yeah, Rick Judkins.
Please get right up to that microphone and.
Can you hear me?
No.
Is it on?
And the button has to be up.
Oh, I'm not qualified.
Once again, the school board has undermined the Board of Selectmen here. There we go.
Can you hear that? No? Yes? No. Can you hear that?
It's on. You just have to keep it close.
It's on.
It's on, okay.
Right to your face and go after him.
Rick Judkins. I've been a full-time resident of Madison since 2005. My family first bought property here in 1953, so I spent a lot of summertime here. In 2004, my wife and I had the opportunity to renovate the old Mason schoolhouse into a 4-season property, and we moved here. My background is all municipal. I had 24 years in the fire service, retiring.
Okay. Let's try the other one and just see if that happens to be turned up a little higher.
Is that better?
Close.
Is that better?
Yeah.
But I have all my background is in municipal service, in addition to some teaching. I retired after 24 years in the fire service, I was a fire chief in 2 cities here in New Hampshire, Concord and Laconia. I retired, and then I went back to work. Taught for 10 years in the fire protection program at the Tech College in Laconia. I was drafted to run for city council in Laconia, served as a city councilor, representing a ward of 3,500 people for 10 years. I finally convinced my wife to retire. She's a teacher, and we moved to Madison. I retired again. And then I got involved in Madison. I was in the fire department for about 8 years. I was fire chief here for about 7. Finally, in 2013, I just said, that's it, I'm done. And here I am, I'm back again. I went to a advisory budget committee last fall, and here I am. That has been an interesting experience, and it kind of drove me to decide if I'm going to complain, I need to get in here and do something about it. So that's me.
Thank you.
A little more nervous than I thought I was going to be. My name is Nicole Nordland. My husband and I have lived in Madison since 2003. We have 2 children, 23 and 15. We also have owned and renovated 2 other Madison properties in the years we've been here. While raising our family here in Madison, we've taken turns with the town. First him, then me. I served 6 years on the advisory budget committee. During my time with the ABC, I was involved in on the replacement committee for our main fire engine. When it was being evaluated for its roadworthiness, it was quite an expensive replacement. So we formed a committee, and we probably all the people on the committee still get emails about fire trucks in our inbox because we did do our homework. We worked really hard. We evaluated our current engine. I actually was chosen to go to the shop and work with the mechanic to make sure it was roadworthy and got a certified letter that it was fine and all of that. So we really dug in, and we were able to come up with a solution that was able to be a compromise and save the town probably $1 million, maybe more dollars at that time. I also was on the Alternative Energy Committee at that time.
Please wrap up here.
Yep, and now I'm running for selectman, so it's just time to do something different.
Good wrapping
Thanks.
up. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Haig Zaytoni, and my wife and I reside on Route 41 in Silver Lake. We've been up here since 2003. I'm 45 years in the auto repair industry, the last 15 of which we owned the Midas Muffler Shop in North Conway. That's what brought us up here when we moved up here. And since then, we've just fallen greatly in love with this community. And at this point right here, I'm a conductor on the Conway Scenic Railroad, but I guess I don't have enough to do in my life. I want to be part of the town. So that's why we're here. I don't have a lot of experience with this particular stuff, but I've run businesses all my adult life. So I just want to be part of the process. And I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Hi. Jim Eldridge. I was born and raised right here.
Pull it up a little closer if you wouldn't mind.
Okay now? Okay. So Jim Eldridge, I was born and raised right here in the town of Madison. I am married. I have 2 adult sons, 2 grandsons, and 1 more on the way. A little bit about my background is I was law enforcement. I did 3 years of military police. I did nearly 30 years of civilian law in Ossipee. I retired as chief 7 years ago. I currently run a gun store that's down in Ossipee. So I got my hat here, plug it a little. So I've got a little extra time on my hands now. The store's up and going. It's been almost 5 years now, I guess. So I thought I'd throw my hat in the ring to see what I can do to help the town of Madison.
Thank you.
Jake Bowie, lifetime resident Madison, married, 5 kids, run a relatively successful small business, been on budget committees and executive committees for nonprofit organizations, and thought this would be really fun to heap on top of my pile. So I'm pretty excited. I love the town, been here my whole life, have no plans on leaving. Raising my kids here, it's a great place, just want to try to make it better.
Thank you. Questions?
Good evening, Donna Vayu. Thank you all for being here. My question is what motivated you to sign up for this, and what would your 3 top priorities be? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bowie, we'll start with you. Sorry.
No, that's all right. Again, I love the town, so I feel like the best way for me to help the town is to get involved. Big things for me are the short-term rentals and the budget and the school budget, which I know we don't have a ton to do with, but being more involved with that. Saving money, I mean, we all like to save money and don't like to spend money, and I like to think that I'm going to treat the money that the town allots us as my own, and that I would treat it like my own budget, trying not to spend everybody's money, because again, taxes hurt, and especially in this sort of climate, trying to navigate maybe, the most cost-effective way possible.
Thank you. Mr. Eldridge.
At the same, after 30 years, or nearly 30 years in Ospey, with that community, watching it grow, and being retired as long as I have now, I see my grandsons coming up. I thought I'd just throw my hat in and see what I can do to try to keep this town going, try to maintain what we have. And the same thing, the taxes, obviously you don't want to see anybody stop paying anymore. It's hard this day and age. I don't know the answer, to be honest with you, until I get in there and start looking. I don't know the role of a selectman. I've been on the police side. I've lugged my budget through. I know how to spend budgets and spend money correctly. The SDRs seem to be a hot thing, but it's not just the town of Madison dealing with that. It seems like the whole state is dealing with SDRs. So, no question I have a lot to learn, but I'm willing to do it, and I'll do my best.
Thank you. Mr. Attorney?
Again, after having the privilege of living in this town for the time that we've been here, I don't profess to know all the ins and outs of town government, but I mean, we've had, again, the privilege of living here, and I just like to be part of putting something back into the community. And I don't know a lot of the things that need to be done here, and if elected, I'll find out about that and just try to be part of the process to fix it.
Thank you.
I do attend the selectmen's meetings quite often, so they are a motivation for me running. I don't always feel like I say everything I want to say in the selectmen's meetings. I definitely, between the time on the ABC committee and attending selectmen's meeting, I have witnessed our budget trend become simply unsustainable. I just feel it's heading in the wrong direction. Needs and wants are getting very mixed up. I believe that some more fiscal conservancy needs to be practiced and create in a creative way. I believe we really need to do some more outreach to our community members for ideas and help with some of the problems that we're facing or the replacements we're facing, and not exist in an ever-shrinking vacuum is what I see inside the selectmen's meetings. So hopefully that can save us some money. An example recently was the planning board was going to put forth and ask for a bunch of money for a master plan when a local resident volunteered her time and expertise to do it for us. So we saved $100,000 on that. So that's why those are the kind of creative solutions I'd like to be part of.
Thank you. Yeah.
Philosophically, I believe in reasonable, affordable government, and with a goal of stable tax rate. My experience on the budget committee this year, we started out with the idea that we wanted level-funded budgets, and if possible, to reduce the budgets by 1% to 2%. As we sit here tonight, you're looking at a 12% increase, a little over a 12% increase on the town side. Those spikes were driven by requests that are beyond, I think, the ability of our taxpayers to cover. We have an enormous list of needs in this community as a result of either past decisions or lack thereof. We're in the process currently of trying to establish a capital improvements plan that had fallen apart completely. And so my goal is to try and write some of those, establish some guardrails for that process. My goal as a public servant, which I've been for years, has always been to meet or exceed taxpayer expectations. Transparency and accountability for real. I will never lie to you. I will never lie to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Before we get to the next question, I want to take a second to thank Chairman Adam Price, Chairman Jim Curran of the School Board and the Selectmen, Town Clerk Michael Brooks for this event having occurred. They made this happen. I just have to show up. Mr. Price. I thought I'd give you a little flurry there.
Adam Price, my only question is, what are the candidates' availability for out-of-session responsibilities, and how promptly would you be able to attend to them, such as signing documents?
Yeah, sorry.
That's all right. My question is, what are your availabilities for out-of-session responsibilities, such as signing documents, and how promptly would you be able to get those things done?
Thank you. Mr. Judkins, are you available off time?
I'm retired for the third time, so I don't know.
Okay, so yeah, if you would, I think that's the only one we want to use, microphone.
I retired for the third time. I got all kinds of time.
Thank you.
And I'm willing to commit.
Thank
I'm no longer doing 14-hour days for 7 days a week. I have a new job that's very flexible, and I work partly from home, partly on the road, and partly in an office at my discretion.
I work part-time as a conductor on the railroad, as I said, and I'd be willing to put in what I had to put in to try to be helpful to the community.
Thank you.
I'm also retired, so one of the lucky ones here. So my availability is around all the time.
I am not retired, but I am my own boss, so I have a relatively flexible schedule. And when things come up and need to be taken care of, I am available pretty much at the drop of a hat.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name's Ted Slater. I live in Pine Hill Road. We're looking at a $1.8 million budget in a couple of weeks we'll be voting on. I'm bringing up a very, very small part of that budget right now. Back in the budget hearing, Joy Gray made a motion to the select board to reduce their salary, which is presently $7,000 a year, and she gave us information about how that cost compared to many other towns in the area, and it was quite a bit higher. So my question to the candidates tonight is, what is your position on keeping the $7,000 stipend you get, or reducing it down to what's more like the other towns, $3,000 or $4,000 a year?
Thank you. Mr. Bowie.
I'm fine with it. The stipend isn't the reason I'm doing this job, so I'm fine with whatever, or whatever the townspeople decide.
Yeah, I'll echo that. Not doing it for the money. You don't go to any town for the money. Having been there for some time, so this is a community service. So if that's the way it is, it is.
Thank you.
As foolish as this is going to sound, I didn't realize it was a stipend, okay? You're telling me the truth. God's ears. That's my answer.
I actually, even having been on the budget committee, forgotten about it until Joy brought it up, and I'm absolutely fine. I'm going to be an elected public servant. I'm not in it for the money.
I'm not in it for the money.
But if you want to raise the moderator's salary, every 20 years or so, you should think about it. Mr. Vayu, yes.
How about we give you 3 times as much or nothing?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
no, I do get paid.
I
Yeah,
didn't know
I'm
that.
not sharing the dollar amount, but it's
Well,
it's
look
a
at that
three-figure number. You're going for 4? Okay.
Congratulations, George.
Thank you.
Mike Vayu. I just wanted to know what the people running for selectmen think about going from 3 selectmen to 5.
Okay. Mr. Judkins, the question is 3 to 5 selectmen. Are you
I
glad
was
it's happening?
one of the proponents of that, simply because there are more eyes, more people feeding into decisions, and I think it'll make a better result for the community.
Thank you.
I was very much in favor of it. I'm looking forward to the change.
I really didn't realize until this year that there was an addition to it, so I don't know the whys or the wherefores. I'm just going with the flow.
Thank you.
Again, nobody ever said bigger government is the smartest thing in the world to do. But having that the town wanted to do 5, that's what kind of spurred me along to do it. We'll see how it goes, and I can tell you better maybe in a year or two, to be honest.
I'm on board. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I didn't vote for it, because sometimes, like you said, bigger numbers make more headaches. But again, townspeople wanted it, that's fine, and I'm not against what we have now, so we'll see how it works.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Paul McKenna. I'm wondering if you are for or against STRs, and another question that leads into that, would you go along with subcommittees for STRs with the voters to form subcommittees?
To examine
Would you agree?
STR?
Would you agree to that? In past meetings with the selectmen, I have asked to form committees specifically for SDRs, and they wouldn't let it happen.
Thank you.
So that's why I'm asking.
I am going to probably be booed at for this, but I am definitely pro-STR. I know that I'm a Mass resident, and it makes people uneasy. With certain regulations, I think it could be successful for the town. I am definitely on board with subcommittees to investigate and try to figure out if it could work and the best way it will work if we find that. I'm definitely not someone that's going to say we're shutting it down without really doing our due diligence to figure out how it could benefit or not benefit the town. But I think that it's a disservice to shut something down before doing your due diligence and figuring out what the implications are.
Again, this is probably one of the hottest debate subjects here. I was under the understanding you can't shut STRs down, but what I understand. But again, I'm not for or against it, I guess, until I get in and actually see what I'm looking at. I watch the news, and I see that the housing shortage has created a problem with everybody, not just STRs, Airbnbs. It's just the prices of everything, or it's pricing everybody out of the area. I understand that. But, so I know I sound like a politician already. I can't give you an answer I don't know 100% about. Subcommittees, I watched them work. Sometimes they work great. Other times they just throw more mud into the puddle. So if it could be done and done correctly and bring back the right information so we can make a decision, absolutely.
Thank you.
I think I've already established that I'm not up to speed on a lot of this stuff, so I really would have to know more about it to give you an answer.
Thank you.
I'm not going to hide it. I am very pro property rights. Your property is yours. You pay for it. And especially when presenting a budget like we are looking at this year, you should be able to pimp your chickens out on the front lawn and pay for it. I mean, you can't ask the taxpayers for all that money and then curtail their ability to make money in any way, shape, or form to pay those bills that they can. So I'm also anti-suing our fellow man. They're our fellow taxpayers, our fellow homeowners in our town, and they're equally important to us. That's how I feel. That being said, I'm not against being at the table, subcommittee or otherwise, to find solutions to people's personal problems that they are currently dealing with because they might be in proximity to somebody that has an issue within their neighbor.
I stand as opposed to STRs, especially in neighborhoods. I don't think they contribute anything to our community. They are not a part of the fabric of the community. They create disruptions that are not fair to people. We've had individuals at meetings say, well, they're there and they're your neighbors. They're not your neighbors. They're transients that are coming through. They're businesses. They should be treated like businesses, and they're not treated like businesses. So, subcommittee, you get all the committees you want. The courts are going to drive this, and we've got to decide whether we're going to be on board or not. So.
Thank you. Further questions?
Good evening, Donna Vayu again. To dive into that question a little bit deeper, would you support STRs in residential neighborhoods versus commercial neighborhoods?
Just yes, no, or nothing?
That was the whole point of that was the whole point for me, is the neighborhoods. The neighborhoods are being disrupted unfairly. You have a property, you live here, it's your home, and you have these animal houses next to you. Now, that's not in all cases. I know that. But we've had some reported pretty difficult situations occur here in the community. I don't think it's fair. I'm not opposed to having a subcommittee look into those things and try to establish regulations, but you can understand that if you establish regulations, you're gonna be challenged in court. And we're gonna have to pay for that challenge. And the SDRs have accumulated so much cash, you can't beat them. They're gonna line up, they're gonna line you up in court, and we're gonna have a problem. So, inside of me, I don't like them, I don't want them, and if I could get rid of them, I would.
Thank you.
To follow up what Mr. Junkin said is the court, in my opinion, from what I've read, they're gonna side with the STR owners. I do not wanna spend any more tax money on this. We can't afford our taxes. We can't afford the things on our warrant this year. I think it's a waste of money. I think it should go towards other things. So that's how I feel. I don't think it's winnable. And so why bother? I think we should address the few problems, and of all the years I've attended the STR issue, I've only seen one or two very acute issues come up, which I think as you can call a spade, and that would be the problem place or that problem tenant. I mean, you could definitely have a bad full-time neighbor too.
So you support them in residential?
We'll keep going here. So
Yes.
Are there any other comments from anyone else who wants to add anything?
I just want to add that the state decided that it's not a commercial business, so there's no regulation to put it in a commercial area. I do support it because I believe, as a property owner, I have rights as long as they don't infringe on yours. So if I have a property that I want to rent, and I can keep it where the tenants are good tenants, whether they're long-term or short-term, I should have that right. I pay the tax on the property, I own that property. The state backs the fact that I own that property and I have the right to do it. That's, for me, it's not so much as an STR issue as a property rights issue.
Thank you. Any further comments? Seeing none, next question.
Joy Gray, as the petitioner for 5 selectmen, thank you each and every one of you for volunteering to run, for stepping up, for being here tonight. Thank you so much. I guess my question though is that we have a big warrant to vote on a week from Saturday. There are budget items, there are non-budget items. Is there a particular item on the warrant that's very important to you that you either want to see pass, or you want to see a good debate about it, or that you want not to pass?
Thank you. Mr. Bowie?
To be honest with you, looking at the greater stuff here, being in the construction field and understanding the need of good equipment and the not wanting to spend good money after bad on old equipment, that's kind of important. I know that's a large sum of money, and I know that it hurts to swallow, but it also hurts to swallow the fact that if we don't approve it, that hurts our town credit score, because then we've gone back on something that the town has pretty much kind of agreed with. So there's that implication to it, and knowing that what the little I know about all this is that if we don't have one, we have to rent one. There's one we can rent. It's owned by a construction company in Conway. We pay to get it here, we pay to get it back, and we can only use it when they're not. So it's one of those things where I feel like maybe the decision should have been made earlier. Not this year, maybe not last year, but when we started having issues with the equipment, start really considering budgeting for something other than spending, tens of thousands of dollars trying to fix a piece of equipment that's 40 years old. But that's what I got.
Actually, I'll follow him on that. Mine's the greater too. I was there when you guys approved to go into the lease. and I'll piggyback off that. We can rent one, and if that construction company lets us have it for, say, 3 weeks in the month of July, and that 3 weeks happens to rain, guess what? We're paying for a grader to sit there. Can't grade in the rain. I am no means, I don't know who did this up, but I am no means telling you a 140 to a 120. I don't know the difference in sizes. Again, this was put together by the guys that are supposed to know what the town needs. You gotta go with the guys that you hire to do the job. They said the 140 works. I can tell you, I live on Winter Road, and I've lived there for, now 30 plus years. Like any town road, the traffic is 1,000 times more than it ever used to be. These roads need constant care now. This last big heavy wet storm, they came through with that grader and actually widened it enough so 2 cars can pass instead of me having to stop back into somebody's driveway to allow a car to go so you can go about your day. So as far as I'm concerned, the town is entered into this agreement. I don't think it would be wise not to continue with that. It'll affect our credit rating. Yeah, $377,000 for the principal on that, plus the interest, and I understand the trading, but who hasn't gone and looked at a pickup truck on a lot right now for a 3/4 ton truck that's $100,000? So when you put that in perspective, if this thing lasts us 25 years, I won't say it is, maybe we do a little better job with, as this one ages and out of that contract at 7 years, we look at trading it in on maybe a smaller one that we find that this is overkill. Then you got good trade equity, and then you trade it into a smaller one and continue with the maintenance program, because at this day and age, unless you are a mechanic, you can't change the oil in your vehicle. So I can imagine what these graders and this equipment do now. I'm old school, not to belay this any longer, but they put computers in the cruisers, and I happen to be the chief. So as the chief, I was lucky enough, I didn't have to turn it off. But nowadays, you don't do anything without a computer. So this is kind of an important one, I think, and everybody's got to understand. Without it, I think the town would be doing a big disservice to itself.
Thank you.
Regardless.
Thank you. Thank goodness there are computers and everything. All right, so, Mr. Zatuni?
First time I ever saw this was tonight when I read it, so I don't know enough about it to really make a decision. It seems like there's a lot of things that they've looked at, but I need to know more about it to make a decision.
Thank you.
Well, I'll start with saying that I believe the information that the town has received, or people like us that go in, or that are in the audience, has changed at each meeting. From it was an unbelievable deal to if we keep it yet sell it, we don't know if we'll get the money back, and an unbelievable deal to me means that you could sell it for the same or more, right? If you think it's such a good deal. I do work in heavy equipment now, and I have spent some time in my office after I've clocked out looking up some graders and prices, and they are considerably cheaper if we were to go with a smaller grader that's not made for road building but made for road grading, which is what we used to have. That being said, I thought a lot about a solution that might be a compromise. As Mr. Eldridge just said, there seems to be a lot of use for this grader in the winter, something we never did before. And it's plowing our roads. Well, you know what is really expensive? Our plow trucks. So if we're going to keep this grader, maybe we take the next plow truck off the CIP and we don't replace it, since we're getting so much plowing out of this grader, and we have several. So it might, maybe we just get rid of the next really expensive thing. I do appreciate the budget committee's commitment to this. I appreciate that they did vote not to pass it, because I feel like they really did their due diligence, and I can't say enough about the meetings I went to. They really dug their heels in and really went to work on this, and they did an amazing job on evaluating the situation.
Thank you.
Rather than speak to that, everybody spoke to it. I have my votes are public.
Can you hear you?
Can you hear that? Yeah. My votes are a matter of record with regard to the grader. I would offer another thing to think about, though. Behind this grader, there are a number of very expensive pieces of equipment that are coming due. And over the next 5 years, we're going to get hammered with them. So I advise caution. Read all you can about the grader. We do need a grader. Do we need that grader? There are those that say that we don't, because it's a construction level grader. If you don't buy that one and order one, you could be 18 months without one, while in the interim we'd be renting. I'm still wrestling with it. My vote was to not take the lease. And on Article 4, I reluctantly agreed with the committee to support it.
Support it. Thank you. Yes, sir.
What I'm about to ask is an increase in fines for disturbances in the town. I've been through this myself, and I've found out this would go for long-range and short-term rentals. Right now, if there's a disturbance that the police department writes up, the first time there's no fine. There's just a report. If there's a second disturbance within 6 months, they get another warning, just a report. If there's a third time...
Please just ask the question.
Well, what I'm asking is, right now it's $275 once a fine happens. I'd like to see an increase, because it doesn't cover the cost, and it's outdated. It doesn't cover the cost of sending a cruiser, paying for the officer, etc. So it's a slap on the wrist. I'm just wondering if you would like to look into increasing the fine.
Thank you. Mr. Judkins?
I'd have to look into that. I have stepped back away from the SDRs for about 6 months, and a lot's happened. Increasing the penalty for it, I'd probably favor that, but I'd have to see more information.
Thank you.
For myself, I would prefer to look at the police logs that are available through the county dispatch first, because I'm definitely not one that's in favor of a solution in search of a problem. So I don't actually need, unless I read through all the logs and see that there's a disturbance problem or a repeated disturbance problem, to be more to the point, I wouldn't be in favor of spending any time on that.
I only know back a while ago there were a couple of problems with the short-term rentals, and I think it went to court and so on and so forth. Again, I don't profess to know all about it, but if it's a continual problem, perhaps fines would be necessary, but I can't speak to it any more than that.
Thank you.
With my background, absolutely. If you get one person that owns a STR and they continuously rent it out, knowing that they're going to have wild parties there, if that's what they sell out or advertise it for or whatever, absolutely. Keep it short, absolutely.
I feel like you have to make them hurt. The fines have to hurt to make people not continue to commit the infractions. So I think that I've had an issue, not to make this any longer, but with a long-term rental person who I was working next to, who called the cops on me probably no less than 5 times when I was working at that house. For no reason, for no real reason. So I feel like that also needs to have some sort of implication. So, but yes, I feel like the fines need to make sure that they sting enough that people don't want to receive the fine or continue to live that or act that way.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Doug McAllister. Just for a moment, I'd like to go back to the grader. I may have bad information, but I did a little bit of research. You know, a little bit of research is dangerous.
We're just looking for questions, and
Here's
ideally not repetitive.
here's my question. The town is asking to buy a Caterpillar 150 grader when we currently have a Caterpillar 140. A Caterpillar 150 is made for building roads, the 140 is made for grading roads. It's $100,000 difference. Has anyone looked at going down a level?
Thank you. Any response at all? No obligation to respond if you don't have an
Real
answer.
quick, I'll throw this out here. I don't believe we have the town grader anymore. I believe that's gone. was part of a turn-in on this one that they have now. And again, the size of the grader, I understand it seems to be the sticky point in all this. I gotta revert back to the guys that use it. I mean, we have a DPW director, we have people in place that did this for a reason. And without my knowledge, and again, I don't know why they picked this grader, but that's what we have. This is what the town has agreed to, and I think we need to stay.
Thank you. Any other comments from anyone? Yes.
I believe it's that we have a Cat 140 and the smaller one that would have been for grading is a Cat 120. And then I have looked up the difference, and it is a significant, it's a couple $100,000 difference. I have looked it up online a few times.
Thank you.
Speaking of the grader, clarification if I could. I thought there was a release line in there, and if we chose not to buy it, we wouldn't put a credit line
This is
at
for
risk.
town meeting. What are the opinions that these folks have?
I just want a clarification.
That's
that was
not for here tonight. They're not the experts on that.
No,
They're
he said
running
we
for office.
would lose our credit rating.
That's what I've heard. I honestly don't know if that's the gospel, but that is what I was told as a concern.
I understand it that if because of the release clause, we are not confronted with loss of credit.
Thank you.
Don't know.
Are there any other questions? Last one.
Tino Fernandez. So I have a question about process, which I think is really important in a democratic situation here. Process about how
Get up close.
Process about how the select would hire people, pick department heads. This is going to be open and clear and transparent, and process about how we spend money. The town decides how we spend money, not the three selectmen. So are you dedicated to having a free and open process and a transparent process in how you function as a selectman?
For both hiring and for budgeting. Mr. Bowen.
I wouldn't be here if I wasn't concerned with the townspeople. That's why I'm here. So I'm all about transparency and openness where we can, because obviously there are some things that we can't discuss openly. As the select board, you have closed door meetings for a reason. But as far as all the things that we can disclose, that's what I'm looking for, is disclosure. I'm not someone who's gonna spend your money and hide it and then tell you, oh, I don't know what happened. Like this is not my money. It's not our money. It's our. Right? And that's the important part of this. I want to try to save our money and spend it wisely to benefit the town, so that we can continue to live here and not go broke.
Thank you. Anybody else? Go ahead, Mr. Eldridge.
100%. As far as hiring people, obviously, being in the police department, I had to go through interviews for every job I got down there. So I understand the process of the town and hiring people. Transparency, I don't think there's any other way to do it. I ran my budget for years down there, so I know what it means to be held accountable. My budget for the police down there was a little over 1.1 million just for the town of Boston Police Department. So I'm quite aware of transparency on your budget. So it wouldn't change here.
Thank you. Mr. Tunian?
I'm certainly in favor of transparency and anything like that, absolutely.
Even more important than process is taking that process that Mr. Fernandez mentioned and working together to turn it into a policy so it's consistent every single time we hire somebody or every single time we do something as a board.
I agree with all of that, and I would add, what we need are comprehensive job descriptions for the positions in the town. I've been told we have job descriptions. I have not seen them, and I would doubt that they're comprehensive. We need a personnel evaluation system. We need to have that worked out so we have a way.
Close as you can, please. You're struggling to hear you.
You still hear me?
Now.
We need a personnel evaluation system, and that would be driving a comprehensive pay plan that we do not have. So we need a pay plan, we need job descriptions, and we need an evaluation system. And to your point, all the hiring should be transparent. There are times when those have to be done in non-public sessions, but the result of that should be made very public very quickly.
Thank you. And thank you all. So to my far right, Rick Judkins, and next to him, Nicole Nordland, and next to her, Haig Zaytunian, are running for the one-year position as selectman, and there's only one slot available for the one-year position. There are 2 positions available, and you'll have the opportunity to vote for 2 people for the 3-year position for selectman. On the far end is Jake Bowie and Jim Eldridge near me. These are the 5 people that have come out tonight to speak. Mike Morrow is also on the ballot, and please join me in a round of applause for them to I'm going to ask you to stay for one more minute. There are, and thank you. You can leave. You're very welcome. Not leave, but sit somewhere else. Are there any other candidates who would like to speak here tonight? We're into close to an hour and a half now. We have, I'm seeing a couple of people around, so we have people on the ballot. We have 4 people on the ballot for trustee of the library, and there are only 3 positions open. Do we have any trustee candidates for the library? I would like them to take the opportunity to speak and take their 1 minute at least, if anyone would like it. Don't have to. There is 1 person, Jane Hoffman, running for trustee of the trust fund. There's 1 position open. Karen Shackford's on the ballot for supervisor of the checklist, if she would like to speak. And then Advisory Budget Committee, Nan Bartlett, Doug McAllister, and Sharon Schilling all have the opportunity to speak if they would like to come up and just give us a quick statement. Would you like to speak? All right. Very good. Please introduce yourself and tell us. Well, those are pretty good if you get up close to them. You got to be very affectionate to your mic.
Sorry it's so late.
Pull it right up close.
Sorry we're so late. I'll be quick. My name is Nan Bartlett, one same. I am not a native of Madison. However, I've lived here for 40 years. My husband Curtis and I have built 2 homes in Madison. And to be honest with you, I would like to downsize build number 3, but it may not be in Madison. That's how concerned I am. We've raised our 2 kids here. They went to local schools, starting at Madison Elementary. As parents, you become involved in what your kids are. So I've been a Cub Scout leader, T-ball coach, volunteer with ESSC ski program, a PTO member. During that reign, we built a playground, a community-built playground at no cost to the taxpayers. I was recruited to the rec committee because of the fundraising efforts we put in. We built a 2nd ball field with minimal cost to the taxpayers of Madison during that time. Let me see. I've also been on the board of directors with the Carroll County Visiting Nurses Association. I've been a member of the Old Home Week Committee. But just to wrap it up, we could go on and on. I am a nurse, retired after 50 years. The last 29 years I spent here at Madison Elementary. And my concern or my reason for seeking the Advisory Budget Committee, I think we're all here and believe in the same thing. We can give our kids a great education at a reasonable cost. We can give the town of Madison great roads and whatever at a reasonable cost. I think you have to be able to listen to the community, what we can afford, and just do the very best we can. And so in closing, I just say, vote for me. I'm the only one running, so.
Thank you, Ms. Bartlett. Thank you. Well, why don't we wait? We have 2 other Budget Committee folks who are running for the 3-year term. Nan's running for the 2-year term and is the only one on the ballot. There are 2 positions open there, and there are, I'm going to get this right, and there are 2 positions open for the 3-year term, and these are the 2 candidates to my right who are on the ballot for that. Ms. Schilling, would you like to take up to 2 minutes to speak, since we probably won't do a lot of questions?
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sharon Schilling. I am a current member of the Advisory Budget Committee. I have been on the Advisory Budget Committee for 3 years. I have lived in Madison since 2016, and during that time have become more involved in what goes on with the community. I am very concerned about the budget because I look around me and I see that the population of Madison, while it has a net income that's fairly high for the surrounding towns, we have a poverty level in this town that's pretty significant. We have families that are making choices between whether to pay their electric bill or buy food. What I'm hoping is that as we go through all of these processes and we look at how the town budgets and we delve into it, that we come up with a process that we continue to refine, we continue to work with needs versus desires. I think at this particular moment, we've got a lot of desires in the budget and not necessarily have pared it down to needs. I recognize that can be very, very difficult without pulling it completely apart. That requires scrutiny. It's unpleasant, it hurts, and it requires having a lot of information, which we constantly ask the town for. But it's all to make for a better budget and make it more sustainable for the long run.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm Doug McAllister. Can you hear me? Yeah. I've been in town since 2014. I was on the Advisory Budget Committee for a number of years, left about 3 years ago. I am on the Zoning Board of Adjustments. I am a director of Mad TV, and I am a 50-year retired nerd. So, and I was asked to go back on the Budget Committee because I had some common sense. That doesn't mean necessarily I'm going to dig into every issue, but from your point of view and my point of view, I like to see what's there and what could be important to you people. So here I am back again. Thank you.
Thank you. Somebody have a desperate need to ask these folks a question? If not, let's give them a round of applause and thank them very much. And thank you all very much for coming out and watching from home. So
Really
thank
quick,
you.
there is still one position open, so if anybody'd like to be a write-in for that position, we
There-
need people on the Budget Committee.
Take a look at the ballot, post it up on the doors over there, and there are definitely openings available to you.